Future-Proof, the Cloud Payroll and HR podcast powered by PaySpace.
Future-Proof is for forward thinkers with a cloud-first strategy who want to eliminate inefficiencies, reclaim their time, and improve compliance.
We interview a payroll practitioner and HR leaders, business experts to explore how they future-proof their business. A new way of moving fast on cloud technology to win their market from anywhere on any device.
Stories about their highs and lows and actions they took in these times.
Hosted by Tammy Lewis
and Heinrich Swanepoel.
So welcome to yet another episode of our PaySpace podcast. Today we are joined by one of the founders of Simply. They are keeping life simple by securing financial futures for South Africans. So I'm going to hand over to Anthony and have him introduce himself. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks, Tammy. Anthony Miller here. As you said, I'm the founder of, or co-founder of Simply, which is a group life and retail life insurer. And we have a partnership with PaySpace that is really exciting.
Anthony, tell us a little bit about Simply and maybe just yourself, your history, and what does Simply do?
Yeah, Heinrich. So my background actually is in mechanical engineering. I started my life as a mechanical engineer and then spent about 6 years in strategy consulting before the entrepreneurial bug bit. And I started a data science business actually called Lightstone, which I ran for 9 or 10 years. And at the end of that, wanted to do something that felt that it had a sense of purpose, that it would make a positive impact and, really positively impact the South African economy. And with a friend, Simon Nicholson, started Simply, a life insurance business, really focused on using technology to make it easier and more affordable for individuals to cover their families and for individuals to get cover. So that's the very brief background. And, also the reason we look to partner with PaySpace as fellow innovators in the technologies, in the technology environment.
Excellent. And it's not by any chance sort of Lightstone where they do the validations on the properties, or?
Yes, it is. It is. Okay. So I actually started that business, initially focused on validating property and then valuing property, particularly for mortgage risk. But that business grew quite a bit and ended up having a warranty business in it. We had a vehicle finance platform and a number of other technology solutions that gave me a front row seat, as to how data and technology could be used to enhance financial services. And looking particularly at the life insurance world, it was very clear that the South African market in general is poorly served. There's a huge amount of individual funeral cover that's extremely expensive, but not a lot of life insurance. So, people end up paying a lot more than they should for funeral cover. The funeral is typically funded, but then after that, the families are left destitute. And we felt that there would be different ways to address that problem. One of the most important being getting employers to pay for their staff. And obviously, PaySpace is extremely well positioned to support that, and PaySpace is very much around improving, the quality of engagement between employers and employees. And so the alignment is high. You guys have got a lot of employers who are very well positioned to support their staff better through employee benefits. But those guys are really busy. They've got to focus on keeping the lights on. So for them to be able to provide employee benefits, it needs to be really easy, really convenient, no hassle, and it needs to be well priced. And that's why, for us, technology partnerships that enable great solutions in a way that's hassle-free is really where the future is going to lie. And so that's very much in line with our mission of securing the financial future of as many South Africans as possible. Our kind of hairy goal is millions of South Africans. We think it's possible, but we need to partner with people like yourselves in order to make it easy for employers to do the right thing.
I definitely agree with that. There's no better way of doing business than just going back to roots, that old school way of doing business, working together and having those partners with like-minded ideas and views and values in the market as well. Tell me a little bit more about the relationship that you have with PaySpace and with your team. How exactly does that benefit your customers, and what was that point of view to partner with PaySpace?
Yeah, so there was an element of luck, I think, in the start of the relationship, in that one of the directors of PaySpace and our CTO are friends from way back, and that kind of got us on the same page in terms of where we may be able to work together. But I think what got us really excited about PaySpace is just the sort of forward-thinking approach to technology. You know, in the early days of us looking at payroll partners, PaySpace was ahead of the pack as far as APIs and open architecture, cloud architecture was concerned. So it was relatively easy for us to partner technologically with PaySpace. The nature of the relationship is that we are integrated into PaySpace in the back end, because in order to provide life and disability cover or funeral cover to employees, the employer needs to provide detailed information about their employees. And that's often quite tricky for an SME. They need to provide a spreadsheet, they need to make sure there's no formatting errors, etc. So by partnering and interfacing directly with PaySpace, PaySpace users can very simply get a quote, an accurate quote for life cover, by literally using their PaySpace credentials in the Simply process. It's really unique. And as far as we can see, it's actually it's a global first, to have the ability to integrate with your payroll provider, or integrate via your payroll provider or your payroll system provider, in order to provide information to a life insurer in order to get an accurate quote. Literally takes 30 seconds, and it's a proper game changer in the SME space. So why is it exciting? Well, it just means that a lot of employers who otherwise wouldn't want to waste their time going through the process of providing data in an old-fashioned way can now do it literally by putting in their username and password. The other thing that's very exciting about this integration is, once the employer has signed up and bought cover for their staff, the process of keeping the insurance schedule up to date is super easy, because all they need to do is to add and remove people from payroll. As long as people are added and removed from payroll, the insurance schedule automatically gets kept up to date, which means that employers never pay for people that have left the business, and anyone who's joined the business is automatically covered. So a lot of the admin hassle around life insurance and other employee benefits for employers goes away. You know, easy to sign up, and then once you signed up, as long as you want to keep the cover, there's no hassle whatsoever. So it's very exciting. It really is a game changer in the SME space.
And it's getting sort of that benefit early in the process and sort of maintaining it. Because from a payroll perspective, we do engage with a lot of companies and with a lot of industries where there isn't benefits, because it's such a mission maintaining it. And the integration sounds, if it's quite tight, and if that sort of ease of use, you mentioned like 30 seconds, but how long is it actually to sign up? Because I think that is a question everybody normally asks.
Heinrich, yeah, I mean, from a technical point of view, it literally is, including thinking about the cover that you want, providing the policy admin information, etc. It literally takes about 10 minutes to sign up and have your staff fully covered with accurate data. And what's quite exciting is that in addition to the integration with PaySpace, we also have integration with Lightstone for obvious reasons, and Experian, which is a credit bureau. So a lot of the data that's needed by employers, things like their tax number, their registration number, their registered address, all of those things that are needed in terms of FICA, we actually pull in from third-party providers. So it really is a simple process for employers. The thing that sometimes does take time is that in the SME environment, a person will have a partner that they need to talk to, or they want to talk to the staff first to tell them that they're getting the cover. So that process of engagement actually is the thing that takes time. The process aspect literally is minutes now, whereas before, if an employer wanted to get cover for their staff, they'd have to get a broker. The broker would email a number of insurers. They would email back the quotes. If the employer then wanted something different, they'd have to ask for a change, the broker would email again. Whereas this enables them to load up their staff, literally play with the quote in real time, choose what they want, get all their data in place from a policy admin perspective, and check out, and the staff are covered. And then actually the process of following up with staff to ensure that they know they're covered, to get their beneficiaries, to make sure we've got all their dependents in terms of a family funeral policy, etc. All of that actually gets run by simply systems. So there's a technical workflow very similar to the kind of stuff that you guys have at PaySpace. And at the end of the day, if we don't get the information via technology, we actually have a call center where we phone those individuals to make sure we get the cover information that we need. So it really is a low admin process, and it's enabled by PaySpace. PaySpace collects this valuable information about employees, which can then make it so easy for the employers to provide additional services to their employees. I think it's really exciting, and I think it's going to be a big differentiator. The fact that PaySpace has got this open architecture, I think we're scratching the surface of what PaySpace is going to be enabling in the future.
And just from a sort of a employee experience, I think we launched it recently inside PaySpace as well. And the take-up from the employee side was tremendous. Everybody was raving about it. And I think just the change management and actually loading that dependence on there was actually simple as well. I got an SMS on my phone, clicked on the link, and it literally took me not even 5 minutes to actually fill in the details. I needed to sort of just get an ID number from my wife, but that was about it. But it was very, very easy. And what I enjoyed about it is I started completing it and then sort of got an ID number and came back. And it was actually saved some of the information that I've already gathered. So there wasn't sort of a start-stop. So that for me was very nice from a change management perspective. And just the onboarding itself was very, very easy. Maybe a question.
Glad to hear that.
Maybe just a question. Say for instance, we've got existing cover. And as an organization, and we want to just see for pricing and benefits, because I think sort of the pricing as well, you've mentioned it's cheap. Does it compete to the market, or is it because of the scale you guys are operating? Is it a better alternative? And if they've got existing cover, can they quickly see what they're paying currently and the benefit that's compared to what Simply is offering?
Yeah, I think, that's a great question. And to some extent, it depends on whether you're comparing the cover with group cover or retail cover. Typically, group cover on average is a lot less expensive than retail cover. Even compared to fully underwritten cover where you've had blood tests and medicals and you've passed all of those, group cover is typically quite competitive with that. But there is an element of cross-subsidization that happens in groups. So the way that group cover works is either everyone pays a fixed percent of salary for a multiple of salary of cover, or they pay a flat premium for a fixed amount of cover. That's typically how it works. But there is a little bit of cross-subsidization. So the benefit in a group like this really kind of is disproportionate to, say, older males than for younger females. So younger females should still be paying a competitive premium, but if they go and look at what they can get on a retail basis, they might be able to get something that's as good or better. The older males, for example, would not. They would certainly be paying a lot less via the business. And so there is an element here that as you get older and you stick around in the business more, you benefit more. So on average, it's very competitive versus retail, but there is an element of cross-subsidization, which I guess is inevitable in these kinds of groups. I'm not sure if that...
it helps. I think sort of it's maybe good sort of from a clarity point of view, just because I think a lot of people or individuals actually go out on their own and look for cover through their financial advisors. And it's the first time I've heard from a differentiation between groups and retail. So it makes sense.
If I take myself in a group, I've gone from many years ago feeling like I was getting a bad deal now to feeling like I'm getting a good deal, So I think, the other thing from a group point of view is there is the benefit for the employee, But quite a big benefit is also for the employer. A lot of employers where we've paid claims have said, sure, thank goodness we took cover because someone's passed away and we were in a position where simply paid out quickly. And the staff now think I walk on water because through me, we facilitated this process where the family is incredibly grateful. All of the other employees are suddenly very aware of the value of this benefit. And so the employer has done an enormous amount of good, in terms of building kind of loyalty with their staff, but also not having a moral dilemma around, sure, one of my staff passed away. There are all these obligations. What do I do now? Do I just say goodbye to the family or do I need to dip into the reserves of the business? So I think that's the other thing to think about from a group point of view, is that it's not just how the employee compares with what they can get elsewhere. In many cases, what we actually see is that the employer provides cover and then the employee tops up with cover to the extent that they want additional cover. So there's the employee benefit, but there's also that employer benefit, which is it's a relatively simple, affordable way to provide employee benefits to your staff, which lead to, a sense that your employer cares, improve loyalty, productivity, etc. And it actually fits very well with things like a savings plan or an employee assistance program with counseling, etc., which is something that we're about to introduce. So, the way we sort of think about it is there's the employee perspective, but also the employer perspective. And for an employer, when you consider how much you spend on salary, for a little bit extra, you can massively improve the value proposition for your staff, thereby making yourself, clearly a differentiated employer, hopefully an employer that cares. You create an environment where people want to go the extra mile. For us, that's really what it's about.
I think for a digital company and someone that's focused on technology, I'm definitely getting that excitement of that customer experience that you'd like to also involve, that culture almost that you want to instill in all the different companies that you assist. And that's something that we're quite passionate about as well. You briefly mentioned earlier with the integration that there's still a lot more to come. Do you have any plans that you'd like to share or can share with us, that you have an idea of possibly what the future can hold for new and exciting things to look forward to?
Yeah, Tammy, thanks. I was hoping you'd ask that question. One of the things that we're about to launch, which PaySpace will benefit from immediately, but certainly something that we will include going forward, is an employee assistance program where basically all the employees, as part of the cover, will get access on a 24/7 basis to professional counselors. We've seen, particularly in this COVID period, huge issues with mental health in the workforce. And also, South Africa's not an easy environment, and particularly in lower income employees, instances of trauma, anxiety, stress. There's been a lot of bereavement with COVID particularly, but, there's a lot of other issues that we face in the country. So that's the first thing that we're going to be adding, and that's within the next few weeks, hopefully. Which we think will, not only make it easy for employees or easier for employees to manage their stress better and as a result be more effective as employees, but we hope it will actually lead to better outcomes as far as, life insurance is concerned. A lot of claims are related to stress. If you think about stuff like stroke and aneurysm and cancer, a lot of it's related to stress. So we think that by providing effective outlets for staff, we can improve the whole proposition on a more holistic basis. And then two other things that we hope to add in the not too distant future. One would be a simple savings plan for staff. So something that really makes sense in the SME environment. Historically, pension funds and provident funds are quite complex. They make sense if you have relatively high earnings and you want to manage your tax. But if you're not a very high earner, sometimes the cost of those solutions means that the economics don't really make sense for lower income earners. So we are working on a fairly innovative savings program that again would benefit from PaySpace and the payroll integration, because it would be easy for us to provide the information that's needed to our savings partner in order for them to do all the FICA and stuff that's required. And then the other thing that we are looking at a little bit further down the track is some kind of medical benefit. a lot of our customers, we've got heading towards 2,000 customers that have taken cover out for their staff now. And consistently, people are also looking for a simple, affordable medical benefit. Medical aid is just too expensive. So thinking about, how do we solve people's problems in a practical way, but at a cost that makes sense? So that's the other thing that we're looking at and working on at the moment. And, hopefully with your guys' help, we can then really offer this great employee benefits one-stop shop, where once the employer signs up, as long as they keep their payroll up to date, everything's up to date, the staff will be able to log on and see what they've got. It'll be easy to claim, etc. So that's what the sort of short to medium term holds for us.
I'm definitely keen if it's better rates on medical aid. But now, Anthony, thank you. I think sort of a few sort of just, I want to say other questions we normally ask some of our guests that's on the show is just from a simply in the office. I think it looks like you're in the office today. We wanted just to find out how you guys have been working remotely. Has the policy changed since the pandemic?
Yeah, Heinrich, I am back in the office. I was going to show you that I'm in the office, but being audio, that's not going to help. We are back in the office. We've always been quite flexible. Our technology team's actually always been distributed, really, because we found that if you limit your technology team geographically, you really limit the pool of people you can hire from. So we've got people in Mauritius, we've got people in Queenstown, we've had them in London. So our technology team hasn't been affected at all. The rest of us were quite quickly remote. Our technology is all cloud-based like yours, so we were able to work remotely quite quickly. The main challenge that we had when COVID struck was getting laptops quick enough, because most of our call center agents were on desktop PCs. And then also Wi-Fi in areas that don't have a lot of infrastructure. So some of our staff live in environments that are not very easy from a infrastructure perspective. And so things like rolling out dongles when, we were level 5, those were the big challenges that we had. But fortunately, in the context, we were able to stay up and running and get going quite quickly. What we found now is particularly our sales and service environment operates better in the office. So we do have a policy now that all of our sales and service agents need to be back in the office unless they have a really strong reason for not being here. So if any of them are immunocompromised, or if they really have a problem with childcare, they need to be back. Our professional staff, so actuaries, marketing, business developers, we have people pretty much back in the office 4 days a week unless they need to be out on the road. But we're flexible. We don't want people to do stupid stuff like sit in the traffic. So we'd like people to be in, say, between 10 and 3, if possible, so that we have a bit of water cooler chat. But we don't want people to waste time, and we want people to live lives that enable them to be as productive as possible, and to get balance that makes sense. And time wasted in traffic just doesn't make any sense.
I definitely agree. Sitting in traffic is silly.
Yeah, but we do. I mean, but I think, and there was a time when I thought it would be proper remote for a long time. But I think there's no doubt that from a culture perspective and from a energy perspective, I think having some time where everybody's physically present is valuable. So I think it's certainly something that I'd say we're going to end up in this hybrid model where people are at the office maybe 50% of the time, and the rest of the time they work from wherever they think they can be most productive. That's where we're going to land.
I think that's the best way to go about it. Humans are a social species, if I can call it that in any case. So you do need that interaction.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. Sorry, Anthony.
No, go for it, Tammy.
I think that brings me to my next question. We always ask us to all our guests to describe, if they can, what cloud-based payroll is to you in one word, if that is possible. And that ties back into all your employees and that human interaction.
For me, it's enabling.
I like that. It's a very powerful word. And I think with everything that you're doing, it's definitely a good description of everything that you're doing. Anthony, lastly, if anyone needed to get hold of you guys, how can they reach out to you?
They are welcome to contact me directly. My number is 082-352-5655 or ant@simply.co.za. Otherwise, they can go to our website, www.simply.co.za, and all the contact information is there, as well as information about the various products that we've spoken about.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Anthony. Have a fantastic week.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, great chatting to you guys, and look forward to catching up soon.
Excellent.